Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I've got another couple turns for you here. Two turns, as I said, couple. This is turn 6, and we got turn 7 to do as well. So far, expansion's been slow, but we're aiming to catch up. We've got our assassins out in force. They snipe 2 commanders here, and we have a bunch of battles. So this is our first kind of motley crew deployment. Some of the things weren't quite perfect about this. I mean, the macemen aren't amazing, but we had, let me show you. We probably need to adjust slightly the positioning here. These guys are really slow. These, Tomb Guard, or whatever they're called. Yeah, Tomb Guard. So they got there at about the right time. We could have had, I'd like them to get there a little earlier. We brought 2 mages, which kind of sucks, but the reasoning was that this guy is going to come here, and there's 1 or 2 commanders present here. So either he's going to kill it in 1 turn or in 2 turns. I didn't want to commit 2 mages because it's a lot of walking. But yeah, he's coming over this way. For the rest of the battles, I'll show you the assassin battles too, because I haven't really been showing those. Here we got rid of this Vineman, or these 3 Vinemen. So this is our God Expand. This is a lot of heavy cav. This is about 12 heavy cav, I think. Maybe 14 even. We've got our buffs off. Okay, spellcasting was interrupted. We didn't get Gift of the Hair cast. So that's cool. We got a good event too. 198 gold and -9 unrest. That's very welcome. So any good event we get with bad scales, we're appreciative of. And so it's actually interesting. I was looking over this turn. I had already done it, but I was like showing this game to Sai, who's casting the finals with me, and I'd kind of been joking with him about this build and how I think that Ctis in some ways could be the strongest faction in the game. And I know that's like really weird to say, but they have some really strong scaling mechanics. We'll see if we can do it. But it's just like a matter of trying to get everything to work. It's so janky. But anyway, I was showing it to him, and we know where all our neighbors are now. So this is Bogarus, this is Man, and this is Marignon. And then Falegra is, of course, over here, which we knew earlier. Man has really weird scales. They've taken at least Turmoil 1, at least Sloth 2. Now, this is really weird as Man, because Man has, in my opinion, some of the best scales troops of the era. I mean, they are really fucking good. These defenders are so good, but they take a lot of resources. The Tower Guard are even more resource intensive because they take less gold and they take less recruitment points, but about the same resources. So in terms of a ratio, it's a lot higher. And the Knights also, take a lot of resources too. So I'm not actually sure this is a very weird build for Man. So he's trashed these scales. Like these scales you really need, like Sloth 2. And we see magic scales on him, and you don't normally see and this is being played by Kosk, who's a good player. He's in the finals, I think. I've played with him many times. He doesn't know it's me, because I'm on an alt account. But, yeah, the weird thing about this, though... So I'm saying it's a weird build, but the player probably has an idea what they're doing. The weird thing is these guys are mundane researchers. So they're not hindered by drain scales, but they should still benefit from magic scales. So there's nothing exactly bad about taking magic, but we think it's at least magic 2. But it's like the opportunity cost is really high. because basically, if you go Magic 2, you should probably go Magic 3. Because if you go Magic 1, you're essentially paying like 4 scales for that 1 extra research. Because you could get 1 less research and go all the way down to Drain 3. Now, your mages aren't going to be as good in combat in Drain scales, right? Because they're going to take extra fatigue from casting and things like that. But that'll have just as much to do with who you're fighting, like the scales of the person you're fighting as your own scales. So, I'm not... I don't understand this build, but what I do know from looking at it is that, and this is what Sai and I were kind of joking about, is that he's probably got an expander. And I was worried, because I like thought about, I was like, oh, he's probably got an expander. He's got bad scales with man. And I was trying to figure out what I thought it was, and I was like worried it could be a Drakon, because a Drakon would fuck this person up. And Sai's like, no, it's probably a pig. And we'll make a pretender here real quick. So these are the pretenders man gets. There's only a few here that are good expanders. Like this guy's obviously an earth snake. It's pretty good. This guy is the best expander that man's going to get. Has Berserk. High Berserk and Trample is actually a problem for like fatiguing out. Especially with like our Bless, we could give it like a chest wound or something, and then it would jump up to like 7 encumbrance. And then with Berserk, it's going to lose an additional 3 fatigue a turn. So it's only going to get a few turns of trampling, because that 7 encumbrance would actually hit a lot of times. It's a big deal when your trampler gets a chest wound. But yeah, this guy's a beast, because he's got high base natural protection. If you take Earth, that adds to the protection. You do summon Earth Power, that adds to the protection. If you go Berserk, that adds to the protection. Anyway, this is like the premier expander. Most other things here aren't amazing. The dragons can. All the dragons can expand, but they're a little dicey. It's not too hard to get a dragon killed. Even, like, this is probably the best expander, just because it can do regen. Depending, the fire dragon kills things really fast with the fire breath, but it doesn't really get much benefit from this. But this guy can get like 20% regen. The earth snake is also one of the best expanders. It has fear, which is the way it gets units to go away. It's not very killy. So in fact, it may be the earth snake's a little bit better expander than the boar, but it's way more expensive. The reason it's a little bit better is because as long as it's fighting in heat, it's going to take a lot longer for it to fatigue out, because it's not going to go berserk. It's not going to, like, that's like a failure mode for the boar. For all tramplers, is that they fatigue out, and then people pound on them and they get critical hits and stuff. Not something the earth snake has to worry about as much. But a lot of these issues can kind of be mitigated, especially once the boar gets enough stars. I think it's like 4 stars or 5. The encumbrance actually goes from 2 to 1, and that's actually a big deal. And then he can also do some earth power and stuff. There's not a lot of other expander options. The doggo can work. It is not a great expander. You probably... I'll be honest, I don't even know what you would really take here. I really don't. He doesn't have a retinue. He has Corpse Eater. He has the strongest Corpse Eater in the game, which is 20. So he gets to be really thick. The problem is he really can't expand very well at all. He's not very killy, so he doesn't kill things quickly. He has fear, which is his only way to get things to go away. And there's really nothing you can pick up here in water or death that's going to make him a good expander. Let's actually take him. Like, what could you actually do? I've never seen this guy work as an expander. You could put him as a in-army expander. Stygian Flesh literally does nothing because he has higher natural protection than Stygian Flesh. He's not undead, so you can't do like reforming flesh, which would be cool. Yeah, I don't think there's any way to use... I think this guy is very hard. You can... once he gets thick enough and you can forge gear, you know, he could do it. I think it's like he's an in-army expander. You use him for a fear aura in an army. That is a very sad type. It's not a good type of expander. But he has... I mean, you can get this guy to like 600 HP as the game goes on. So it's cool. Nothing else here I think is really... You can kind of expand with the Raven. The Raven's actually a little bit more killy than the other dude. But not quite as good a Corpse Eater. And not as much base HP. And can fly. I like the Raven better than the Dog of the Underworld. Yeah, Ghost King can expand too. That would be an option. He could Ghost King us. We would ruin a Ghost King, but... Anyway, I was thinking that the other option he might have is like a dormant... Oh, this is the other expander. All right, so he could have gone for the Great Mother. Kind of the same paths as the Boar, significantly more expensive. But, you know, for the extra cost of 70, you actually get another Dominion point, which may be worth around like 40. And you get another Nature, which could be worth around like 32. So it can actually kind of pay for itself. It is not as good of an expander out of the bag. This guy is a monster out of the bag. He's just very hard to kill. You have to use pretty carefully. Like, you want to put armor on her, and that's going to be a little tricky. Even with, like, some basic armor, like the astral armor like we have, her protection isn't amazing. And she tramples, but her encumbrance is a lot higher than the piggy, so she fatigues out easier. And the trampling can actually be a problem when you're trying to use her as a super combatant later, because she'll trample instead of sit there and fatigue herself out, instead of sit there and punch stuff. But she has an enormous HP pool of 185 and has built-in regen, so she can be really, really tough to kill. It's just, she has certain types of problems you have to work around. To use her as an expander, and then once to use her as a Titan later, the trample can be bad news. Anyway, those are like the expander options. The other thing is he might have done like a dormant Titan. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the game back up. Okay. And I was thinking there's a very good chance we bump. It's his Dominion. With these bad scales, he probably has something. It's a important contested province. Now, he has other important contested provinces he might try to get to, but he might have already gotten them. He might have like verped around here. So yeah, we're gonna at least try to take it. If I get it and I get my Dominion in there, I potentially could kill most of the expanders with my god if he tried to attack. In my Dominion, he's not going to get his bless. I'll get mine, so I'll get Fate Weaving on him. I can make him sit in my Poison Cloud. I can... one thing I did switch up research for is I put Thaumaturgy 1 in here. And the reason is so that I have Curse. And I wanted to get it so that if I need to, like next turn, I can try to curse him. Very good to do on gods. So, anyway. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're going over there. Here, we've assassinated 2 guys. Now, one of the things, this is something that was interesting, because like Sai didn't even know about some of this stuff as I was like talking to him the other day, is when you really get into sharpening the pencil on Assassin expansion, there's some things you learn. And I learned this through experience, but you can also learn it by studying it, I guess, or like looking it up. Different types of commanders, different types of provinces have different numbers of commanders. Now, human provinces have between 2 and 4. And they may or may not have a priest, and they can have 2 to 3 normal commanders. I think that's about the same for these Cav provinces. I think it's also 2 to 4. These Cav provinces are the only type of things I don't want to send my assassins to at all. Certain other special types, like this guy's probably going to have a Skelly Summoner, which I don't want to fight. But certain types of provinces, like Cavemen, typically have 1 to 2. It may be, I'm not sure that it's 1, but I think it's 1 to 2. It may be always 2. But I haven't ever seen it with 3. And there's an IllWiki page where you can go and look some of this stuff up. But I've kind of done it just by expansion testing with Ctis a fair amount now. Not with this particular build, but with Ctis itself, I've expansion tested a good bit. Which, you know, I've been doing Assassin expansion, Reanimation expansion, a bunch of things. Trying to figure out what could work. But yeah, what's nice about this is our party of 2 here should reliably be able to kill the cavemen. Now we're fighting in a cave, so our skeletons are going to be extra effective. They're going to be harder to hit in a cave. Cavemen have dark vision, but only 50. So 50%. So they're still going to take a significant stat penalty in a cave. So that's pretty nice for our skeletons. And they also don't have armor, so we'll be able to... Our skeletons will punch through them pretty well. We can still lose to them, but they need to basically kill 3 skeletons on their first hit. Or like 1 hit each. If they stop, they can lose, and then there's also a chance the skeletons might hit them first. And if skeletons get first hit, even if they kill them first on each of the 3 hits, like immediately, like they can still get killed by the skeletons getting off first hit. So anyway, it's a whole thing, but this is generally a pretty easy assassination expansion here, and it's only 2 guys, so that's where I want to go. And we're sending 1 guy here, and he'll take up to 2 turns to kill the commanders here, and then we'll take that. This is a pretty easy province of light infantry and heavy infantry. We're going to be sending this crew in here. I've got 2 turns left on my mercs, so we're going to send them here and then here. We've made a major bid for 313 gold to summon the heavy cav, Durin's cavalry here. And that would be nice because it'll allow us to take this province, which I'd very much enjoy. We're assassin expansioning here. Like I said, these human provinces we're very... we'll watch some of these. We will very, very reliably kill these guys in assassin expansion. Okay, so there you can see it worked. It was kind of weird. I thought we hit him with that other sling, but it looks like we missed. I think we watched the second one. Let's watch the first one. Oh, wait, no, that was the one we watched. The second one is right here. Yeah, so this is in the daytime, so not quite as good for us. We get a second one out. Yeah, the sling's not really doing that much, but if you can see here, we're very fatigued, right? So 1 more cast we would knock out. Might as well take the roll with a couple slings here. But anyway, you can see that worked pretty fabulously for us. And we're going to kill the last... it may be, and I could have pinged it this turn. There was a chance if we ping it this turn, we take it. But if we ping it this coming turn, this next turn, we should almost definitely take it unless we fail one of the assassinations, because human provinces don't... There may be a small chance they could get 5, like maybe they have 2 priests, but I think it maxes out at 4. Anyway. So that's basically it for this turn. We're going to be assassin expanding here, here, normal expanding here, and normal expanding here. This was on the back of getting 3 provinces on turn 6, which is very nice. We'll be potentially getting 4 provinces on turn 7, which is very nice. But that's going to make up for our very bad expansion to this point. Like, we had a turn where we didn't expand at all. It was like 1 expansion, no expansions, 1 expansion, 3 expansions, and now we're going to be 4 expansions. So, hopefully 4. We're getting another one of these Keeper of the Tombs so that we can lead out another stack of Sacreds if we want to. We're leading out these guys. One thing that's kind of interesting, Sai was telling me that I might... I was like, hey, how do I use these guys? Because I have not been able to figure out how to use them. And he was saying that the best way to use... They're hard to use because they're undisciplined, so you can't really have them target anything. And they'll kill your own guys. I was like, every time I try to use them, I kill my own guys. He was saying that this tag here doesn't affect Mindless. Doesn't mean it doesn't actually affect Mindless. It means it gives a quarter damage to them, was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So maybe the best way to use them is to put them behind a long dead screen and just let them shoot over the top of it. And that might be very good for counter raiding if we're expecting little squads of raiders to come. I don't really want to put this guy in an army, but we're going to keep him around for that particular purpose, and he doesn't cost any upkeep. So it's a very killy unit, but it's like a sword with no hilt. Very hard to use. Okay. We're getting another scout here who will probably start a fort next turn, and with that, let's go to our current turn. All right, this is our current turn. We kill this commander. There was only one. Oh no, there was 2 cavemen here. So we'll watch the cavemen battles because they're kind of interesting. So he didn't kill this one in the first hit. Let me go ahead and put the long dead hit for 0 damage. He killed 1 long dead with the club. We hit him again for 0 damage. And then we hit him with a spear for 15. Not being very accurate with the slings. Here's another one against the cavemen. So he was repelled here. He was repelled again. Now there's 3. He killed 1. Our sling's wildly missing. What's our accuracy here? Precision is 9. Yeah. And then we killed a commander. So this province, where there was only 3 commanders here, and we killed them. One of the guys didn't find anything, and then we rout the remaining army here. They're piecing out. And yeah, we rout this army as well. And I do want to ping this and see what's here. We might be able to take this with our god. We'll have to see. This was a real battle, so let's take a look. Let's see if our positioning worked out a little better for us here. It looks like it will. So we have the Tomb Guard up in front, right where I like them. Yeah. That was nice. We only lost 2 macemen. And we're going to send the rest in here. This is potentially a little dicey. Fortunately, we have a mage with us. One of the problems when you fight Koni is they're very hard to kill in their second form. And he's going to be doing Blessing, Blessing, Skeletal Body, Advance, and Cast. And we're finishing Thought 1 this turn. And that will give him access to Dust to Dust off script. And Dust to Dust is going to be very useful for killing tiles of Kooni that are in their second form. So I'm hoping he's going to do that. There's also probably going to be a Skelly spamming mage here. So he'll be able to banish or Dust to Dust the skeletons there as well. And so that'll be nice. There's also a chance we bump Marignon. I have no idea what their bless is, but Marignon tends to kind of suck. Late age Marignon early on. So I don't know. It'll probably be at least a fair fight if we fight them. And this is honestly not a super valuable province that is likely to be contested. There is a death site here, and so this is most likely a Well of Misery. We'll probably want to Dark Knowledge it or send a Sauromancer here. We won't find it with the Death one, but it's still a mountain cave forest, so it probably has decent site access, so we'll probably still site search with this guy when we get here. We're starting our Assassin expansion here. Unlikely that the scout here works, so we're gonna just try it. I wish I should put him at the back. And then most importantly, we had a bump with Man. I didn't show you. So Man indeed did have a piggy. He has this behemoth, the Emperor of Man, the thrice-horned boar, and he's a beast. He's got Earth 6, which gives him hard skin. And he's got Nature 4 to get poison resistance and 1 HP. I personally would have probably taken Dark Vision over 1 HP. Because we are actually going Darkness early. And he's going to have a very, very, very bad time against us with Darkness and Skeletal Legion. So we have a timing with like an early Alt 6 where I think we would just blow him up. Like, we're going to beat him in crossbows. We're going to beat him with melee units. It's going to be pretty bad. But there's actually really interesting... This is for those of you who don't understand how protection stacking works, this is a pretty interesting example. So let me walk through all the steps here. We're going to watch this again, and we'll show you how protection stacking works. So base protection here is 27. You're like, how is it 27? Because it's only 16. So he gets an additional 6 from Earth Magic because he's Earth 6. So that's going to take him all the way up to 22. Well, how does he get from 22 to 27? Well, there's 5. And 5 is the value you get from Hard Skin. And Hard Skin adds to this directly, to natural protection. What Hard Skin does not add to is stuff like Iron Skin. So if you were a 0 protection mage and you cast Iron Skin or Army of Gold or whatever, and then you have a Hard Skin Bless, it is not going to add to it. It's going to be completely negated. However, you're going to see he's going to cast Stone Skin. So he casts Personal Regen first, and then he's going to cast Stone Skin, and Stone Skin is going to take him from 27 to 29. And the reason is that if your total, all the sum of your natural protection is greater than 20, then instead of Stone Skin taking you to 15, it's going to add 2. And so that gets him from 27 to 29. Now he's going to charge into combat. And now you're about to see things get really crazy. So he got hit by a javelin or something and got really pissed. A crossbow for 2 damage. And he got really pissed and he's berserking now. And that gives him plus 5 protection. So that takes him from 29 all the way up to 34. This is now very high, and this isn't the max that he's going to get. Once he gets Iron Skin, that'll get him up to 35, and once he gets Summon Earth Power, that'll get him all the way up to 36. So that is very, very high, and I believe if he gets a Bracer, that will probably get him to 37. So very, very, very high protection. Now, fortunately, we have pretty easy access to Dusk Daggers. We can make them on our god. We just have to find or trade for pearls or alchemize or something. And that's not going to care at all about his protection. So we will be able to kill this. However, we bump with him, and we cannot kill him now. And I was counting on retreating if we ran into a Thrice-Horned Boar. So we did, which I feel was a little unlucky. But Biggest Piggus over here is... He's pretty strong. This is going to be no fucking contest. So let's slow it down. So he roots her. Let's do the thing right here. Yeah, so he hit us with 5 damage with the hoof and 15 damage with the gore. We are also fighting in his dominion. What does that mean? It means he gets Hard Skin, which is significant. He gets poison resistance from his Bless, which we can subtract 15 from this, and that would leave him at 7. And 7 is not enough to sit in her Poison Aura with Fate Weaving on. He also is not getting Fate Weaving. But we are getting the shit hammered out of us, and we cannot get through his protection. In fact, we're missing a lot as well. We're down to 69. And he's doing about 20 damage, 30 damage a turn. And we're regenerating 10 a turn. So it's not good. And she's like, fuck this, let's get out of here. And she's running now. This is as low as we've got. We might have gotten down to 29 for a hot second. And she's like, all right, fuck this, we're leaving. And now she has to get off with this very fucking angry pig on her tail. And let's see how this goes. So she got hit here, but not for a ton of damage. So she's up at 42. But with a bad roll, she's going to get wrecked. Now, after he hit, he stopped for a while, gave her a turn to heal up to 52. And then he hits her again for like, 12, gets it right back to 39, and then she gets off. There was a very real chance. I don't know how many times you'd have to run it, but I bet you it's at least a 20% chance that I lost my god in this fight. At least a 20% chance. And that would have been devastating for us. If that had happened, what we would have had to do is stop making mages. We would have had to switch over to these guys who are our fastest priests we can make. And we would have had to just slam these for like 4 turns. And we would have had our god back, but it would have been probably too late. These scales on Ctis without our god, we would basically have been out of the game. So we were in some ways a little all in here. In some ways, it was the worst possible scenario. He had the best god for bumping us. The only god, really, that probably would have not the only god. The best god for bumping us. It was here, it was scripted and all to be, had a bless perfect for it, like the poison resistance, all the things. In some ways, this was like the nightmare scenario. It ended up doing the bump on the turn I was worried it might happen, even though I didn't know what the god was. And a pretty good idea was going to be this pig. But anyway, it ended up doing it. So there were a bunch of things that all lined up kind of against me there. But fortunately, we didn't roll the final bad dice of losing our god in that combat. And for that, I'm happy. We didn't even get an affliction. So everything is fine. We're going to continue. We're going to expand this way. This should be a pretty easy province. It's heavy infantry and militia. It's in our dominion. Should not be very hard. Yeah. And then I've messaged Kosk, and I've been like, which is funny because Kosk does not. I kind of fucked him over in a game about 3 years ago. I didn't mean to, but I was fighting Arco, and I was like, hey, dude, Arco's a beast. He's got this scary bless as Abyssia. I need help. And he agreed to help. Well, while his nap was ticking down, Arco was kind of crushing me. Like, he had killed a lot of my stacks. I wasn't, in threat of immediate death, but it was looking pretty bad. And I really didn't have the means to inflict a ton more damage, especially given how much he was doing. And I chose to peace out with him, and I didn't let Kosk know, which is a dick thing to do to somebody you've talked into a war. So I ended up bringing him into this 2v1 and then abandoning him in it. And furthermore, Arco went on to kill him. And I ended up losing that game, not to Arco, but to Squeako. So, I think it was to Squeako that game. But yeah, it was... I wouldn't do it again. It's not a move I was proud of. But I kind of burnt the bridge with that player. So it's kind of interesting running into him again on an alt. Because I don't know. I don't have anything against him. I've fought him many times since then. And he's not like an attack me on sight kind of person. But he's always, in every other game, he was willing to help me in that first game. So I think I really did burn a personal bridge. But he's always had a dagger since then ready to stick it in my back every game we've played in. And he'll usually avail himself of the opportunity. But he's probably, he's a good player and seems to be trustworthy and reasonable and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out on an alt. I went and messaged him, and I asked him what he wanted to do, if he wanted to do a non-aggression pact. And he said, sure. What would you propose? And I was like, how about you get the barbs? Because he's got this big fucking pig. I'm not going to sit here and nickel and dime him over this barb province. And I want a peace with him. I really don't want to fight into the pig. When I think I have much better opportunities over here, which we're going to talk about in a second. Or Bogaroos. There's a lot of pretty much every other nation I would rather fight than man at the moment with a big fucking pig. The problem with the pig trample is not going to trigger blood vengeance. It's also, I don't believe, going to trigger fate weaving. Except on my god, because he's not trampling, it will work. But he'll trample all over all my fucking units. We can skelly spam him and stuff, but we don't really have access to that yet. Basically, I don't want to poke this beehive, and Kosk is also a good player. Not a good target for a first war. So I didn't want to like really negotiate as hard as I can, be like, oh, give me this. Like, I'll get both of these. Fine, he gets a preferable border with me. I'm cool with that. So I'm like, you get this, but I'll take this. Now, this actually is a very high-income province, so I'm pretty excited about taking it. And the nice thing about water provinces is they're not going to get as crushed by my heat 3 scale, so it's kind of like a bonus 10% income in the water. So I'm going to get this one. I just need to figure out how to get a ring of water breathing. We also need to get site searching, but that hasn't started yet. We're going to start reasonably soon. So we have a nap 3. Man gets these 2, and I get this one. I've also, you can see that we didn't get the Cav. The Cav went to Arethia, and Bogarus has taken this province, which is a province I wanted somewhat dearly. I'm going to see if I can negotiate, because Bogarus is kind of not in a great position. I'm going to see if I can negotiate getting this one, since he got the really high value one. It's just a waste, but it's potentially going to have some gems. It would be pretty useful for me. So I'm going to see if I can negotiate this with Bogarus. If they're not amenable, well, if they're not amenable, we could probably kill them, but I probably don't want to. Not yet. I think there's better targets for war. Namely, that's going to be potentially Marignan, but most likely Phlegra. Because we can see, I mean, this province is in Phlegra's cap circle, so it's no secret that they haven't expanded here, but they also haven't expanded here. And this is really significant with Phlegra, because Phlegra's units cost a lot of resources. They have very good troops. These Iron Guard are really sick, but they cost a ton of resources. These Mouflon are really nice, but they cost a lot of resources and a lot of recruitment points. And the Cyclops Warriors are really nice, but they cost a fuck ton of resources. Even the measly crossbow is 26 resources. So they really need a lot of resources, and so far I can only see them having one of their cap circle. Now, I'd like to go on top of their cap just so I can see everything in their cap circle, what they've expanded to. But because I'm moving here with my god, I potentially will have to bump whatever he moves here. If he were to expand here this coming turn, I'll potentially have to bump whatever he's moving here this turn in this province when I go for it. And so instead, I'm going to move my scout here so that I can see what's coming in here and I can take a bump here. Would have been really nice to have had a scout up here to deal with man, but right now all my scouts are busy doing assassin expansion things. So I'm glad I was able to spare this one. We've also started building a fort here, and it's just a pretty nice province. I'll be able to collect a decent amount of resources from this too, if we need to make Falchineers. But I'm going to really try not to be in the Falchineer game. It's not a good troop. And, I mean, it's in some ways not horrible, but it's not good. No shield in late age, moderate to bad protection, easy to get repelled. The thing is, if you're fighting something where you're getting repelled, which can be a million things, you know, like, if we're fighting Marignan and they have, like, these big fucking swordsmen, we get repelled by these guys, right? Like, we're going to get repelled by most of the Marinese units. We'd get repelled by Phlegra, by these dudes, and by these dudes. Well, no, we wouldn't get repelled by the lance. Yeah, we get repelled by these guys. We wouldn't get repelled by the swordsmen. So we would probably trade kind of okay with the Helot soldier, just because we have 2 attacks. I don't know. I don't actually know how that math is, but maybe we trade well here. But nobody makes them. They're going to be making Mouflon, and you don't want to be eating lance charges from Mouflon with Falchineers, I don't think. Man, we don't get repelled by, but... Oh, with these guys we would. The Warden, and we know he's going to be making a decent number of those. The other thing is these are crossbow nations. These guys have some of the lowest upkeep crossbows in the game. These guys have very spammable crossbows, and then man has, like, batten down the hatches, like, fight to the death crossbows that are just impossible to kill. So... And Bogaroos doesn't have crossbows unless they get them from indies. Short answer is I don't want to make a lot of Falchineers. We had made some because I want to make them as part of expansion. But other than that, I'm not exactly terribly interested in it. So we'll make some, but yeah. We also wanted this turn to start a Sarmancer because we're kind of getting close. One thing you want to keep an eye on when you're playing Ctis is, you want to be turning your Death Gems into Tomb Kings. Especially with this build where we want to get a lot of these Serpent Boys out. So as we get close to 23, we want to get a Sarmancer. We're not that close, but, be nice to go ahead and get one. We're going to mostly be slamming, I think, these Empoisoners, just because they're going to be so good in our first war when we're running Alteration. Once we're done with Assassin expansion, all these guys are going to switch to Site Searching, and hopefully that will net us a tiny bit of nature income, like maybe 3 gems if I could dream. But we're going to have a lot of these guys out Site Searching for nature, and a tiny bit of death. And then after that, we'll have Site Search. These are our only nature mages, right? So we'll have Site Searched all our lands for Death 1 and Earth 1. Death 1 and Nature 1. And then we'll be sending around our Saramancers, and ideally we're going to be sending around our Earth and Astral Saramancers to Site Search. So that's kind of the step. We're going to need 1 Sarmancer at home to summon Tomb Kings. But other Saramancers are going to run around. So probably... And we're not going to be making a ton at the beginning because I care a lot about these research timings. And these guys are going to research both of these in Magic 2 pretty well. A lot better than Saramancers. So we're going to go back to slamming Empoisoners. And they're also way fewer. It's way more gold efficient research for us, which is also going to be important as we're getting infrastructure up. It's also going to be a fucking nightmare when I have Alt 4 for people like with human mages to come and try to fuck with me. So it'll be interesting. We have actually a reasonably deep toolkit. We're going to have assassins that are going to be running all over the place. We're going to have Sarmancer thugs. That not quite yet, but soon. Banefire casting, Blood Vengeance hordes. And then, of course, our god, who's going to just drop in and wreck stuff. So it's gonna be interesting. I think that's about it. I haven't discussed with Marignon yet. I don't want to talk with Marignon until we get borders set, because they would want to negotiate for more than they'll likely end up getting. Though there's a chance we bump here and we lose this, in which case I'll just accept, whatever our cruel fate is. It's about to switch to winter, which is going to be significant for mountain passes closing down like this one. But I think that's about it. Hopefully, best case scenario, we go kill Falegra reasonably soon. Oh, there's other things I need to talk about. We want to go kill Falegra. I need to take this. So our god's probably going to go boom, 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 boom. Then take the water provinces. By the time to take the water provinces, I need rings of water breathing. So our god's going to be busy for the next 10 turns doing all of that. And I'm not really in a hurry to kill Falegra, but I would like to do it. We'll see. I think we can just ruin them. I'd like to have at least... I think I want to have where my god can teleport and do body ethereal. If they're not making Cyclops warriors, they're going to be in a real bad way. I mean, they can still have their Cyclops smiths, which are really good. But, yeah. So we probably want to get at least here in research, maybe here. So, this isn't a ton, but it's a fair amount. And it'll start going up quickly. I'm really happy that we have a non-aggression pact with Man, because it means I don't really... it's unlikely I'm going to need to mobilize my Mage Corps for a while. And I'm also hoping to get a non-aggression pact with Bogaroos, even though it's not a very scary early-game faction. Just because I really want to keep this Mage Corps dedicated to researching. and get through this. Once I have this whole thing researched, which could be 10 turns away, which will probably sync up when my god is done taking this and then moving here. So let's look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's probably 8 turns of movement for my god to take these 5 provinces. But once she's done with that, yeah, then we'll be in a pretty good spot to go to war, because I'll probably be having this research done, and we'll be ready to jump on somebody. And if I don't feel like going to war just then, we can wait until I have Alt 6. Alt 6 is going to be so fucking good for us, guys. I mean, it's giving us everything. We should look and see if there's anything more it can give us. We're not really in Earth power. Battle Fortune, our god could cast that pretty trivially. Not going to be good on a lot of our troops, though. Skeletal Legion in Darkness is where it's at. It also unlocks Transformation, which is one of the key techs for turning these guys into tarts. Sadly, we can't get a nature random on these guys, which would be hilarious. But I think it is worth twice spawning these guys to turn them into tarts. And at least have one of them running around. I mean, it would almost be worth it, because these guys are a lot better. We don't have luck scales. We have Misfortune 3. So it's pretty dangerous casting Transformation. And we don't have... what is it? We don't have Recuperation in any way. Or healers or anything like that. We don't have a way to get rid of that. So it's actually pretty risky. We'll have to see. But it opens it up as an option. So that is another significant thing. Do we have anything at 5 that's particularly noteworthy? Mother Oak, which our god could cast, but we're not going to have nature income unless we get really lucky with site searching here. Drain Life is really, 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 really good, and we're going to have that. Invulnerability, which is really good against Scales troops. Like man stuff, he doesn't have magic weapons in his bless, so he's not going to have any magic weapons. This is better than Iron Skin versus that kind of stuff. It's 25 protection. So we put on good armor. These guys are going to be nearly immune to normal things, even crossbows, especially if we give them a shield. These things we're not really going to have access to. Incinerate we do have access to, right? Because Incinerate, we get Fire 2s reasonably commonly with our Sauromancers, and they can do that on advance and cast. Drain Life is probably better, though. Solar Eclipse, we actually can cast. You can cast this as Fire 2 Astral 1, which actually is a combo we can get. So now Darkness is obviously going to be better, but if we get Astral 1 here, then we use a gem to do Phoenix power, and then we're at Fire 2 Astral 1, and then we could cast it. So that's if we need to fight early, but it's going to be better just to wait for Darkness in general. And this is what's going to make us just nuts. Darkness and Skeletal Legion. In some ways, I was kind of thinking about it because I had some builds. Sorry for the rambling, but I had some builds where I was thinking about taking Half Dead. If you're planning on casting Skeletal Legion, Half Dead in some ways is better than Darkness. It's going to just make the damage you take from disease to be really, really trivial. But Unaging, which we have, which is better in most cases than Half Dead, is not going to help with Skeletal Legion. So it's still something we have to kind of worry about there. So we're definitely going to do it. But it might be we need to get off like anti-magic first, because these guys do have really good MR. It's going to be very unlikely they get procced with disease. So, anyway, we're going to have a big power spike then. We can probably use that to run over somebody. We'll probably run over Falegra before then, but we'll see. Oh, final thing. trading. We need to trade for a Ring of Water Breathing. I've been messaging people. My best hope for that was Patala, but Patala said they're not going to have Construction 2 researched for a while. The other thing I want is full black steel plate or whatever, but we're probably not going to have that for a while either. What's looking like it's going to be more likely is that we end up getting Construction 2 and we make the fire armor and hat. Or the nature armor and hat. Or the nature hat and the fire armor. That'll give us an extra attack, which could be nice, because we want this god to be kind of killy. But yeah, anyway, that's about it, folks. We've now covered all the things I want to cover. And we will see you in the next episode.